Hello and welcome back to Invictus Racing League. It's the IRL F1 League on a Monday night, as always, with me, Gareth, and Sab, as usual. How are you doing, mate? You ready for this one?
Yeah, I certainly am. I'm sure you will be as well. Last week we started off with a cracking race around the Hungaro ring. We saw many debuts. We saw the emergence of the no assistant F1 League finally, and we saw packed out grid, didn't we? And this week we're hoping for more of the same. And if we can have as good a race as we did last week, this week with potentially more overtakes, we should have a cracking race tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a real blast night. It's a track that definitely a few of the drivers had their eye on, the Hockenheim Ring in Germany, and a much different track to what we saw last week in Hungary. And of course, I think a few of these guys they're tentatively looking forward to it, knowing that you can get caught in that DRS train, especially down that long straight towards the hairpin at turn 6. But yeah, the Hockenheim Ring, track length 4.5 kilometers long. That's just over 2.8 miles. Race distance over the evening will be 34 laps. Pole position left hand side of the track, heading down to that very quick right-hander at turn 1, which is it'll be very interesting to see what the guys do when it comes to track limits tonight, because we know that one can really catch some of these guys out, especially in qualifying. Maximum speed around here is 194.4 miles an hour down to the hairpin. That's 313 kph. Distance turn 1 from P1 on the grid is 310 meters. Full throttle 53.5% of the lap. Downforce level around here is around about medium. Of course, you've got that long straight, but then you have got the tight and twisty sector in the final third of the lap, and its gear changes. It's around 40 over the lap here, 1360 over a 50% distance, and a pit lane's time loss of around 20 to 25 seconds. And Sab, it's a track that we've seen some fantastic racing on last season. Of course, we saw where our one of our current racers, FPL Charlie, made sure of the title in that battle up against his teammate Boy Ben OSB, and those two in the Mercedes, they had a real battle that came down to the closing lap. So can we expect the same thing tonight?
You would like to think so, because, like you say, these two battle it out for the championship this time, at the end of last season, I should say. It's going to be a lot tougher for him, I think, tonight, with the likes of John Polainen in there, who looked absolutely mighty last week. You've also got Harry B, who I'd say had a very good race last week, from a lowly position all the way up to eventually on the podium for himself. Foxred looking quick as well. Speed Queen, Sam the Pitter, Warrislander as well, who certainly stood out last week until that unfortunate incident towards the end of the race for him. So if the Mercedes guys are going to do it tonight, they're going to have a hell of a test on. So it's going to be tough for him, because especially I think last week, even though Boy Better Know was provisionally third, he would expect to be further challenging for closer for that first place. And with FPL Charlie not doing so well, he didn't have a great start, did he? He got tangled up, I think, with White Fountain at the beginning of the race. So they'll be wanting to rectify that, because the Mercedes team, they would have been going into this season as one of the favourites for the constructors, and so far it's been a bit of a struggle. So they'll be hoping tonight they can rectify that, and the first race can be swept to one side, and they can knuckle down and get back to where we know they can do and fight for those top 3 places here in Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the Mercedes are actually two-time reigning constructors champion, with Scott, or Boy Ben OSB, with Joel V520 2 seasons ago, and then FPL Charlie last season. So they've got pedigree for doing well. But as you said, it's not been the greatest of starts for the pair. And of Scott, unfortunately, looking like he may not be able to make the session tonight, because he's having external issues with his connections. So that would be an even worse situation for those two when it comes to a championship challenge. And of course, Scott, like you said, having dropped off of the podium due to that post-race incident, or post-race penalty, I should say, from that incident with Sammy Pepito. So yeah, he's going to have a load of work to do. I'm sure he'll be joining us in the stream and letting us know if he can't make the race tonight. But I mean, if we looked through the field last week, and we saw a couple of new drivers in. We saw the likes of Jumper Line that came in, that made that great start in pre-season, and then went on to win the race last week. But it was the Warrislander that, although he had that late incident on the penultimate lap of the race, which dropped him out of the podium positions, had a really, really strong start to the season.
He certainly did, and I'd have probably tipped him as driver of the day if it weren't for that little error towards the end. I don't know about you, but he surprised me picking up pole position last week, a superb pole position. I didn't expect the reigning F2 champion to come in and really flex his muscles and show what these guys, some of these really experienced guys in this league, what it's all about. And he certainly deserved to be fighting up there for first place, which he did for most of the race against John Polainen. He gave it as good as he did, and unfortunately that slight error which cost him his front wing unfortunately dropped him off the podium place. So even though he'll probably feel quite annoyed the way that ended, he's got to also feel pretty pleased with how his season started, because he knows now, looking at it, minus that mistake, he could fight it at the very front with these guys. And if you can fight at the very front with these guys all season, who knows, you could end up having a reigning F2 champion turning into a current F1 champion. So there's plenty of positives there for Warisland. He's just, in my opinion, he's just got to forget about last week and focus on this week and see what he can do here.
Yeah, and we know that in this league it's all about consistency, and that's what wins you points and prizes at the end of the season. Because we saw last season, of course, FPL Charlie was winless and still is winless in the F1 League, and he's still looking for that elusive win, but he was able to come away with the championship. So it just proves that if you can get yourself in that top 3 consistently over the 12 races of the season, that you can end up bagging yourself a championship at the end of it. But Sab, I mean, just before we go to the track, and we'll let everyone watching know what's going on with the rest of the league, but then equally we'll just quickly talk about Hockenheim itself. And it's a relatively new layout, of course, a historic circuit. Used to blast through the forest, punctuated by a couple of chicanes. That disappeared in 2001 when F1 officials demanded the layout be changed, or the Grand Prix would be moved elsewhere. And of course, it was in the future officer, and they shared it with the Nürburgring for a few seasons. The old layout, it was a good one. I really enjoyed it, but obviously it wasn't the greatest for the fans who would only get to see the cars 45 times with the extra or the longer track, meant that it was a shorter race. And so this new one, it's a bit more car parky. It's not particularly the most aesthetically pleasing, but it's definitely a track that drivers enjoy racing on, isn't it? Because it does have those opportunities for overtaking in almost every sector.
Yeah, definitely, and the run down to the hairpin at turn 6 is it's a definite one to watch out for. There's always that opportunity to get the toe off the guy ahead, and with DRS assisted down to there's plenty of opportunities to send one down the inside, or even maybe around the outside if they're defending on the inside. There's lots more compared to last week. I think that we should see a lot more opportunities for overtakes this week. Hungary is quite typically difficult to overtake around, and with this track and the way it's laid out, it's certainly got more opportunities for overtaking. I personally always love going into the stadium section, because it really does feel good going through there. You can feel the car sweeping through it, and if you don't get quite right, you can lose quite a bit of time there, and then going into the final corner for start-finish rate, you could suddenly find anybody chasing you right hot on your heels. So plenty of opportunities for overtakes tonight, so hopefully we get plenty of that and we have just as good a race as what we did last week. Fingers crossed we have, in my opinion, another dry race, but you never know in Germany. Mixed conditions are always possible here, so who knows, a bit of rain, like we saw in the F2 race last week, a bit of rain can just spice it up a bit, and we never know who could end up on the top step at the end of the race.
No, and that's what makes it most exciting, is that we've got this stacked pool of drivers, and they really are. You never know race place. Although we've had this jump a line and jump in, and this Finnish driver just really blow the water out of the league when it comes to really entering a league with style, and that's 2 wins out of 1 pre-season race and 1 regular season race. There's still plenty of drivers on the grid that can make a difference, and I'm expecting to see maybe some different drivers up to top end of the field when it comes to qualifying, and we will see in a fraction of a second if we've managed to get a dry qualify session or a dry race. We'll see as we go to track very, very shortly. Here, there you go. It's just a dry, overcast session for qualifying this evening. So it's going to be much nicer for these guys to send it down, especially towards that first corner, that right-hander. And Yeah, of course, this isn't our only race of the week, guys. This is the first of 4 races here at Invictus Racing League. Monday night is always the IRL F1 League. Sab and I in the commentary box as ever. And on to Tuesday, it's the Realistic Performance League with Tim and Malc in the commentary box. Wednesday night is the IRL F2 and F3 race. And then, of course, on Thursday for the next 2 weeks, it will be the IRL Invictus F1 podcast. Sab and I talking all things Formula One, and only 2 more weeks until the end or the season finale next week, Sab. So we're gonna have a nice little break after that when it comes to the Thursday nights, but we'll still keep going hard on the commentary on Monday nights.
Oh, definitely! I cannot wait for that break on the on the challenge you always set me on the podcast. So thank God that's going to end. But all jokes aside, I was just reading from Foxy Red. He's reliably informed us that we're going to also have a dry race as well. So dry qualifying and a dry race. So it's all down to how quick these guys can go. As we see now, some guys are heading out now. Foxy Red, one of them, he's currently out there on the soft tire. Most people at the moment are either favouring the hard or the soft tire. Nobody really looking at the medium tire yet. So maybe just first few minutes, just get a feel of the track, see if it can get rubbered in, and then see we go from there. But it'd be very interesting to see who favours the soft tire, if anybody favours the soft tire, because last week, as we see, wasn't really popular, was it, the soft tire? So it'd be interesting to see if anybody dare go on these soft tyres this week and maybe have to come in a bit earlier and possibly a 2-stop strategy. It depends how they can look after these tyres around this track.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those circuits much like Hungary, where that soft tyre just dies after a few laps. You can only really get a couple of laps out of it around here before it loses that edge, and it really losing that extreme grip that you get when you go onto the Red Bull tyres. And so I would expect to see the majority of the field starting on at least the medium compound, if not a few of them trying to sneak into the top 10 on these hard tyres and changing up that strategy. We've seen the likes of White Fountain go for that alternate strategy over the past few seasons. So as Burmeister gets down to the hairpin first, down at turn 6, goes slightly wide, misses the apex, but it's going to give him a good run up towards turn 7 and into the Mercedes section here. Now, of course, the Mercedes staff all free tickets there to that stand on the right hand side, so that's not bad, perk of the job if you work there. But running out onto the curbing there on the exit of turn 10 into the stadium section, Mobile 1 corner, turn 11 now up to the Sachs corner at turn 12. Of course, we saw a Ferrari bin it in the wall there last season, not this time. Burmeister gets round nicely. Can he keep it on track? Very easy to ride these curbs and get that car slightly unbalanced and possibly lose the back end, but Burmeister will be the first one to set a timed lap this evening. It's going to come across the line. It's a 14.6 for the Ferrari driver. Unfortunately, it looks like it was invalidated, and it's a 12.9 for Jumpalainen. He's the first person that set that time.
Yeah, Foxy Red. I think Foxy Red will probably be doing what he did last week. He went out on the soft tyres just to get a feel for the car. It's a more steadier lap, shall we say, as you can see there, 1:14.8 on the soft tyre compared to John Pline on the hards with the 1:12.9. So Foxy Red looks like he's just getting a feel for how it is at the moment out there, and you'd imagine he'll be going much quicker later on into qualifying.
And round comes Meg Lugby in the McLaren. Of course, a very good qualifying session for him last week, and he's now on to a flyer and the McLaren driver. As we said last week, he's been impressive in qualifying towards the end of last season and into this one, and he'll be looking at improving that streak that he had going. And of course, it's just containing it through from quali into the race, and that was something that he wasn't able to do as Infinity goes up into second, immediately moved down into third by Luke, and Luke joining us for the first time as Charlie then replaces him in second position with a 1:12.9, so fractionally behind Jumpalainen. So it looks like Charlie and Jumpalainen quite evenly matched as we've started off this session.
Yeah, and if you were wondering a little earlier, Sector 2, there was a yellow flag, and it was for Sam. Just after turn 6, he lost. I didn't see the incident, but he lost the car, the Haas car, what he's driving, and he was facing sideways. He was just in the way of a Toro Rosso. Luckily, didn't hold the Toro Rosso up too much, but that was on Sam's first flying lap, so he's back round now to start again. So not a good start for the Haas driver tonight.
No, not at all. He'll be looking at improving. Meg Lugby coming to the final corner now What can he do in that McLaren? He's going to come to the line, and it's up into 5th position. It's a 13.9, so good base banker lap there for Meg, but you can see the lights of Jump Line and Charlie. And equally, Burmeister, that 13.1, that's not too bad at all on these hard tyres. And so I'm expecting to see these guys go a little bit quicker if they start to go for the mediums. But you can see there, it's looks like Zyman's actually out on the soft tyres. So is he going for that ultra aggressive strategy of starting on the softest compound?
Be very interested if it is. You'd imagine if he does go that route, he might be the only one really to do it. And if he does, and he can really nail a lap in, you would imagine he'd be right up there with Jump Line, and if not ahead of Jump Line, as Jump Line goes even quicker on those hard tyres. 3 laps on those hard tyres now with a 1:12.7. I'm just right on board with Sam again. He's into the stadium section now. It looks a lot cleaner this time round. I won't be able to tell you in a second whether he carries on or not, or whether he gives up on it. He does carry on, so he can't have invalidated anywhere around. He's coming across the line now. What is his first time going to be? Jumps up to 4th with a 1:13.5 on those hard tyres, so not too bad there for Sam.
Back on board with Simon 118, and he's coming up to the Mercedes stand now and round in towards the 3rd sector. Of course, he's the only one out there apart from Foxy Red, who set that time on the softs, but that's just a sight a lap. We know from Foxy he did the same thing last week, came out on the soft tyres and would like to go out there and beat it. But is Zyman going to do the same thing, or is he going to go for a fastest lap time? Has he managed to keep it within the white lines? Will he keep going with the lap? No, he comes into the box at the end of that one, so he goes out for a side. So Warrislander retiring from the session in 12th position, so that's a surprise because he did incredibly well last week to get the pole position. 12th position, and it looks like the young Dutchman is going to be starting well down the field.
Was that on track or was it in the pits? I didn't actually see what happened there, to be honest. If it was out on track, then that is really bad news, isn't it, for Orison? Because if everybody sets a time now, he's going to be starting at the very back. I'm just riding on board with Psycho at the moment. He's in the racing point. He's the only one at the moment on those medium tyres. He's just got down to the hairpin at turn 6. He's heading round towards that humongous Mercedes grandstand now. Be very interested to see on those medium tyres, the first one on them, what lap time he could do. Can he put himself right up there with the hard running guys at the very front? He's got a car just in front of him there. Oh, he's hit Infinity. Now that was interesting because 5 place grid penalty for Psycho there. Basically, Infinity was well off the racing line there, and it looked like Psycho had just got some understeer and just drifted towards the Renault, and he just couldn't avoid him. I could not blame, from my point of view there, I could not blame Infinity at all. Maybe Psycho was a little distracted by what happened there with the Renault pretty much parked up on the side of the track, but he was well off the racing line, and now Psycho is trying to carry on, and it looks like he's I don't know what he's doing now on the start finish. He's heading off again, but yeah, that's really unfortunate for Psycho. You'd imagine he'd have come into the pit lane because he looks like he's got front wing damage there. So yeah, that's not good for Psycho, unfortunately. Me personally, I couldn't possibly blame Infinity there. He was way off the racing line, and Psycho still managed to somehow collect him.
No, and the last thing you want in a session is to come into contact with someone and then equally picking up a 5 place grid penalty. So really unfortunate there for Psycho. And as you say, we'll have to look back at that instant after the race and see. It did look like there was a little bit of miscommunication between the drivers, and we've just checked in with Andrew Lockdock, currently in 8th position. He's just got to the first corner, ran out nicely wide, and that's probably an immediate slap on the wrist from the stewards and saying that's not a fair lap. So it looks like Andrew might have bailed out of it already, and it's a corner that's going to prove to be particularly unfavourable for a lot of these drivers this evening, and we'll see, is there anyone else on track at the moment? We've got White Fountain that is currently on track, and we'll go on board with the Hash driver DRS wide open as he heads down towards the hairpin, and he's probably going to come up towards Andrew Lockdock in a few corners time if Andrew has bailed out of this lap. But the Belgian, we know that he does favour that alternate strategy, or equally he does leave it late, so it's surprising to see White Fountain out this early in qualifying. We usually wait to see him with about 2 minutes left to go in the session before he crawls out of the pit box and sets that flying lap. So 8 minutes left to go. He's surprised us all by getting out there early, but he's now coming into the third sector. Can he keep it on the black stuff, using that runoff area on the exit of turn 11 very nicely? Now up to the Sachs curve, slightly off camber there, so it's very easy just to pick up the throttle too much and turn the car around. And that's not a great view. We're just watching track now. There we go, back on board with White Fountain. He's going to come across the line. What can he do? Oh, almost loses control. How did he keep it out of the wall? He huge snap as he exited the final corner, and he somehow still manages to put it on second on the grid. What an end to the lap for White Fountain. It looked like it was all about to end up in tears there.
Yeah, wow. Like you say, how did he keep that? And I think if he had done that, he'd have probably stole first place. But what I find very interesting now, here's one for you. John Polainen has come out of his pit box on a set of soft tyres. So that is very interesting. It'd be amazing to see what he can do if he does go for a lap on these soft tyres. What he can do, because he's already done a 112.7 on the hard tyres. So you'd imagine if he does go for this, he's going to be comfortably in the 1 minute 11s on those soft tyres. So this is very interesting for John Polainen. Does this get a reaction from anybody else? Is he just trying to tease people, or is this just a cycle lap to see what he can do on those soft tyres? Quite interested to keep an eye on him for the next few minutes.
Yeah, is this mind games from last week's race winner to try and see if he can get White Fountain or Charlie to jump onto that softest compound? And we've seen drivers in the past just bail out the last minute as Adrian Lockdock moves up from 9th to 6th on the grid, a 13.5. Good lap there from the Spaniard up into 6th position, and that puts him just alongside Meg Lugby on the grid. And you can see a few of these drivers in the pit lane fitting those medium tyres, getting ready to come out. We've got just over 6 minutes left to go in the session, and we'll just check in with LER Luke, who's looks like he's on an out lap. We'll see if he's we'll see. Maybe we've caught him at the best time, because it looks like, he is going faster. So it looks like we had a bit of a timing glitch there, but Luke is going faster. He's on the medium tyre, so he was a little bit faster through the first sector, not too much so compared to his original time. So the Ferrari's going to front right lock up there, so that's going to cost him just a fraction of a second, but we'll see if he does continue with this lap as he gets around to the second and third sector now towards Mercedes at turn 8 and into turn 9 and 10. Quick left, right, and don't run out too wide because you will invalidate there. Equally, it's very easy just to run over each one of the curbs here if you throw it in too early. We know these guys here like to use as much runoff as possible. Luke currently down in 8th position. He's on a 13.568, so 0.005 of a second slower than Samba Pepito. Can he improve on these medium tyres? What's he going to do? He's going to be the first driver to really set a competitive time on the mediums. It's going to move him up into 3rd position, so 12.9, still behind White Fountain and Jumperline, as Jumperline does a 1:11.1. So with 4 minutes left to go in the session, do we hesitate a guess and say that he might even try again and try and get into the 1:10s?
Wow, I was right on board with that, and it just absolutely nailed all the way around. And I thought he's just going to dive into the pits now and con everybody into thinking he's setting his time on soft. But yeah, that is a lap time, isn't it? I would not be surprised, if he could pull out a 1 minute 10 seconds with a 1 minute 11.1. That. Personally, I might put the jinx on here, but I can't see that getting beaten tonight unless everybody else jumps on the softs to have a go. But that was a mighty lap from John Polainen, and he's really set the bar very high tonight.
12.2 there, Foxy. So last week's second place man, he did very well in pre-season as well. So Foxy getting himself up in the mix, much better lap from him, and he's got a little bit of time if he wants to come in and set another lap. But that puts him up onto the provisional front row of the grid. But that lap from Jumperline, that really is a statement. And that 1:11.113, and does that lock him into a 2-stop, or are we going to see a very aggressive, maybe a 1-stop run running the hard so long, and so he's going to have to really play this one carefully, because he's going to have he's possibly, unless some of these other drivers around him like Foxy, like Fountain, maybe Charlie, decide to go for that soft tyre, he's going to have to really stretch that first stint out to try and make the most of the tyres before they start to fall away from him.
Yeah, and the only thing I can think of is that he believes that he is strong enough and quick enough to get a two-stop to work. That's my only guess. He did kind of prove last week he's a very quick racing driver, and maybe he's just fancying the more aggressive approach tonight. It'd be fascinating to see. I personally hope it stays like this, because it'd be fascinating to see if the likes of Foxy, who we imagine is locked in on the one stop, if he can just stay on the edge of jump line and just keep a nice gap between them. Be very interesting to see what happens at the very front there with jump line locked in on those soft tyres. So this is going down to a very fascinating strategy tonight. I cannot wait to see how this plays out in the race shortly. But as we see, quite a few people now coming out on those medium tyres for the last 2 minutes of the qualifying. White Fountain, he's out there. He's currently in third at the moment. We've briefly spoken about him. He qualified third last week in Hungary, so you'd imagine him at least to be right up there as Harry jumps up to second place on those medium tyres with a 1:12.2, 1.2 seconds off of John Plan. Yes, they're on harder tyres, but still, that was one massive statement. So plenty to be played for, I'd say, for second downwards, because you've got at least 2 or 3, 4, 5 guys potentially fighting for that second place.
Yeah, and we really had forgotten about Harry there, and he was running around on those medium tyres, and of course he was on the podium after Scott was demoted due to a penalty last week, and he'd made a whole host of moves throughout the race and got himself right up after a dreadful qualifying session. So Harry up onto the front row of the grid currently with just over a minute left to do. What can Meg Luppy to? He's gone up from 8th into 5th position there. He's done a 1:12.927, so good luck there from the McLaren driver. But we've got plenty more cars out on the track ready to set their final laps. We've gone under that 1 minute mark. What can we see from everyone else? And we'll see, is there anyone that's coming up towards the line? We've got on board here with Infinity 846 down in 12th position, and now Ashley of course was involved in that collision earlier with Psycho, and we'll see if he can improve and get himself up into the top 10 in a few seconds time. Runs out slightly wide there at the Sud curve, and he's now coming up to line. The Renault gets himself up from 12th up to 5th. Great lap there from Infinity, and you can see just how close it is now from the likes of 5th position all the way down to 8th. That's what, 0.02 of a second splits 4 cars.
That's crazy, isn't it? And John Palainen right now, he's back out there on a brand new set of soft tyres. So can we see him break the 1:10 mark? He's just coming through second to 2 now, and he is a 10th up on his previous time. So John Palainen right now, is he's heading into the stadium section. As long as he gets this nailed, he's about to go. He's snap of oversteer there, and unfortunately that's his lap done there, and John Palainen won't be getting the 1:10. He was up, but unfortunately that snap of oversteer has cost him, and he's now heading into the pits.
Yeah, real shame there for John Palainen, who looked like he was about to set off some fireworks coming across the line. We're just going to check on board with Sanford Pito. 13th position, not great so far. Can he move himself up? It's going to be up into 6th position, so into the top 10 for the Spaniard, and we've still got the likes of Adrian and Psycho equally. Infinity, I don't believe he's going any quicker. He's not going any quicker, so we'll just check in with Adri, his teammate in the Renault. Is Adri going any faster? As we see time is over on the session, so every time you cross the line, that will be it. Yellow flags in the 3rd sector. What can Adri do? He moves himself into 5th position. Great lap there from Adri, and although 2 laps, so an extra lap on those medium tyres, so that will hurt you in the race in the later stages of the stint. But you can see John Palainen, he's the only one that's gone for that extra strategy call, and he's the only one that's going to go for the soft tyres to start with. So we're going to have to see an absolute driving masterclass from the Finn if he is to maintain the race lead, because these other guys of all, you can see all the way down to Burmeister, who didn't set a time on those soft tyres. So I believe everyone else, apart from Warislander, of course, starting 15th and last, so look to see him make moves through the field. But yeah, Jumpalainen, he's definitely got some work to do in this opening stint of the race.
He has, and the key, I think, he's got to get away cleanly, hasn't he? And there we have it. There is your final qualifying. As we see, Infinity as well also got 5-place grid penalty. I'm sure I've just seen that flash up there. So Infinity as well as Psycho. So that incident between them both has cost them both dearly. So unfortunately for Infinity, he's qualified in 9th, but we'll see him drop right down the order. That's really bad luck for him there, because I think that was out of his hands. But there you go. There is your top lineup there.
Yeah, so Jumpalainen takes the pole position ahead of White Fountain. So those two are going to be absolutely electric going down towards turn 1. Harry and Foxy Red in 3rd and 4th position. Foxy claiming that he wasn't particularly happy with that lap and he thought it was quite scruffy. So hopefully he can pick up in the session and in the race and move himself up. And of course, starting in 4th position, there's still plenty of opportunity there. And as you can see, as we were told before, lovely blue skies above this circuit this evening. And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic race. Can't wait for it. As always, the second round of the IRL F1 League, and these guys are using no assists. And of course, it's definitely it's pace-based. So we've got our toppest, our fast. Toppest, that's definitely not a word. Top and fastest drivers. There we go.
We can use that for the rest of the season.
Oh yeah,
surely.
yeah. No, let's bank that as a new created word this season. And so yeah, we're going to go into this one with some drivers that are so hungry and ready. As it looks like we've got one driver that's already ready to go for the session. So we'll be heading to the grid very, very shortly. And as I said, there's plenty more racing this week. But of course, if you like what we're doing this evening, if you aren't subscribed, make sure you press that red subscribe button in the top right hand corner of your screen. Equally, press the like button if you're enjoying what Sab and I bring you. We'll be bringing it to you for the next few months or so through to the mid part of February, round 12 of this season. Jumpalainen, he releases himself from the P1 position and heads down through turn 1, and we'll just check in and see what we can see with drivers when their strategy calls. Charlie, he's on the medium tyres, on the hard tyres, sorry. Down in 10th position, so didn't manage to set a timed lap there in the session, so he'll be starting in probably the worst position. You're not able to start on free tyres, and if you start within the top 10, and Charlie of course will be on used hards. Burmeister is on the mediums, Zyman's gone for hard tyres, Infinity's gone for the mediums, Warrislander goes for the hards, while Psycho and Rasty will be on the mediums. So yeah, you can see that very lone red circle at the top of your standings there, and you can see him on screen now, the Racing Point. And what's he got to do in this early stage, Sam? Because we've just said that he needs to make a breakaway early on, but how far does he need to stretch these tyres before he can really come in and possibly not get, because you'd think that in the early stages you have to make a stop, you might end up coming back out into traffic, and that's the last thing he's going to want.
Yeah, exactly. You just took away what I was about to say, actually. It's exactly that. He needs to... There's two things he needs to do tonight. Is he needs to manage those tyres, but he also needs to pull away to be able to not get caught up in traffic. That's the last thing he wants to do, because that could really scupper his chances of this strategy working. I just wanted to quickly point out before we raced that FPL Charlie reliably informed me that he invalidated on his only medium run, so that's why he, unfortunately for him, ended up only P10. So he will be on the medium tyres, you'd imagine, coming towards the end of the race. You'd imagine him being much quicker towards the end, so it'd be interesting to watch him as they now line up on the grid. Jumpalainen there, ready and waiting on those used soft tyres. The only person on those used soft tyres. Start is crucial, isn't it? It'll be very interesting to see if he can get away from White Fountain early and build a gap.
A Racing Point versus a Haas. When do you ever see that in Formula 1? But that's what we're going to have heading down towards turn 1 as the engine notes on the rears of these V6 hybrid turbos increases. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. We've got to pause. It's still going, but we're out, and it's away and down towards turn 1. It looks like Jumpalainen's got a great start utilising those soft tyres. There's a Ferrari off in the background. It looks like it's Luke, but it is a great start from Jumpalainen. We've got a Williams that's gone wide. That's Harry, but he's still managing to go alongside with Foxy down towards turn 2. Behind, looks like everyone's filing into position, and yeah, it's a great start from Jumpalainen.
Yeah, and just further back, as Meg Luppy has retired. I'm not sure what happened there. Foxy Red and Harry banged wheels, and that's what unfortunately forced Harry wide. Is now Harry's coming back at Foxy Red, and Harry gets the move done down the inside of turn 6 on the hairpin. So Harry back now up third place. A fortunate start for Meg Luppy there. It'd be interesting to see what happened with him. But yeah, as we see now, Foxy Red and Harry not giving it up yet. Harry also quite close to White Fountain, but further ahead, John Polainen has already made it up to 1.4 seconds on those soft tyres at the front. So good start for him on those soft tyres.
Yeah, we'll have to speak to Meg after the race, but it looks like he just lit the tyres up on the exit of turn 4, turned the car around as Infinity retires from the session as well. So we've had 2 retirements in the opening lap, and Infinity looks like he may have put it in the wall on the exit of the or in the entry to the stadium section, because we've got a yellow in sector 2 and sector 3. Jumperlinen crosses the line with a 1.4 second lead. White Fountain in second position with Harry in third. Foxy Red in fourth position. Top 4 maintain positions. It's a great start from Speed Queen 80. She's jumped up 3 positions into 5th place, while Sam moving up the position ahead of Adri, who's dropped down 2. But you can see behind Warrislander, he's made a good start, up 4 positions into 10th. Psycho into the pit box on the early laps, so perhaps there was contact between himself and Infinity once again. So we'll have to look at these guys after the race and check in and find out what happened on the opening lap between those two. Behind, we've got a gap between Luke and Simon swapping positions over 11th and 12th position. You can see a huge gaggle of cars on the exit of the hairpin there, but it's 1.5 seconds after about a lap, and or 1.7 of a lap as Foxy goes deep there into Mercedes at turn 8, and behind we've got Speed Queen and Sam battling out over 5th and 6th position, but 1.5 seconds is a good start from Jopalainen.
It is, and this is a mega battle between Speed Queen and Sam. He's harrying her as much as possible. I thought he cut the corner at one point, but he just about got it done. But the moment Speed Queen is forming a bit of a train, she's in 5th place, 1.8, 1.7 seconds behind Foxy, and she's got Sam, Adrilock, Charlie, and Warrislander all chasing after her. So at the minute, Speed Queen has got some work to do, because as soon as that DRS comes available, you imagine it's going to be even tougher for her.
Oh, Sam getting onto the rumble strips on the exit turn 1 there, and had a little bit snap of oversteer and just about held onto it, but it's not cost him too much time. But as you said, there is a nice train of cars forming behind, and DRS will be activated next lap, or this lap, so I wasn't paying attention to how many laps we've done, but it is activated for Sam. He's going to go to the outside of Speed Queen, going into the hairpin, can't get the move done. He's going to have to cut back behind. He's got a battle between Charlie and Adri, and those two are going side by side. Almost went too hot, almost took out the Spaniard, but Charlie really trying to get past Adri in the early stages of this race, and he knows that he's got to make up for lost time, and equally he's on the hard tyres, so he's going to be spending a few of the opening laps. As we've lost the second McLaren there, goes spinning off into the wall. It's Warrislander that's binned it on the exit of turn 10, and it's a dreadful start to the race from McLaren. We've already lost McLaughlin, and so Warrislander puts it in the wall as we saw a move there between Rusty and LER Luke. But back up, we've still got this battle between Charlie, Adrian Lockcock. Speed Queen now is just in front of these guys, and this battle's still going on from 5th all the way down to 9th.
Yeah, and it's getting a little personal now between Sam and Speed Queen. Once again, they banged wheels down at the Mercedes grandstand. Speed Queen will have DRS this time, so she'll be able to try and get back at that Haas driver. But yeah, it's getting a little feisty at the moment for 5th places. Harry and White Fountain further ahead for 2nd place are swapping places, and Harry now into 2nd place. White Fountain dropped down to 3rd, but as you can see, this is only going to benefit Jumperliner with these guys battling away. As you can see further down, this place is swapping all over the minute, as Speed Queen, FPL, Charlie and what have you are all swapping places. Just can't look at any one particular place for too long, can you? And you're already missing out on certain battles. There's a great battle for 5th place as Sam the Pitto is 3.2 seconds behind Fox Red now. So Speed Queen not quite giving up yet. She's still under a second, so she'll still keep that DRS. But yeah, Harry now up into 2nd place, 2.7 seconds behind John Plano. And while these people are still fighting and squabbling behind him, it's only going to benefit that racing point and allow him to build that gap even bigger. But the moment it is 2.5 seconds, Harry will be hoping it it can stay around that time.
Yeah, Charlie making use of the fact that Adri went deep into the hairpin, locking up the brakes, trying to overtake Speed Queen, and Charlie now trying to overtake Speed Queen himself, looking at turn 2. But of course, what you want to do is you want to wait for this line just coming up and get yourself some DRS and down towards the hairpin, and that's exactly what he's done. And in fact, Speed Queen, she's still in the toe of Sam ahead, so it's going to be this is what we see. It looks like Charlie's going to try and send it down the inside. Is he going to be able to get the move done? Speed Queen's trying to fight him. Equally, Sam backing up. There's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but keeps it relatively clean. But it looks like Speed Queen, she's still got the outside line. It's going to turn to the inside line for Mercedes to turn 8, and she maintains 6th position. And of course, guys, we are trying to bring you as much as we can. But if you want to see anything else on the track, let us know. We'll try and see. We can see Rusty and Luke having a fantastic bout over 11th and 12th. Luke picks up 3 seconds of penalties, their first one of the race, to pick up some time penalties. But we've still got Charlie on those hard tyres, lad, moving up from 10th position into 7th, still fighting with Speed Queen. But that gap now between Harry and in 2nd position and Jumper Linen now down to 2.2. So are those tyres starting to go off?
It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, I was going to pick up on that as well. Great minds think alike there. It does look like those soft tyres might just be starting to lose their health. We were predicting between 5 and 7 laps maybe until you have to come in. And if it starts to drop off too much, John Palmer's just going to have to come in. I'm riding on board at the minute with Charlie. He's sizing up Speed Queen now. Speed Queen with DRS as well as Charlie, but Charlie hoping to send one down the inside. Who is late of the breakers here? Speed Queen. Oh, Speed Queen's gone deep. Charlie sees an opportunity there and takes it and says thank you very much. Speed Queen, I think, was focusing too much on what Charlie was doing and not ahead, and unfortunately that opened the door for Charlie, and now he's up to 6th. He's going very well, isn't he? On those hard tyres, he's sitting nicely, and if he can keep this momentum up, it's looking good for him to have a strong end to the race, because he'll eventually be on those medium tyres, which will be much newer and faster compared to the guys who will eventually be on the hard tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Charlie won his first title at Invictus here just a few weeks ago at the end of last season, so he's well versed to success around here. Although he didn't pick up the race win, lost it in the final laps of the race, he did finish on the podium. We've got a yellow in sector 1 at the moment. Harry's looks like he's gone round, he's put it into the wall, and he's going to reverse right into the centre of traffic, and luckily for the ghosting system, he's just about have been avoided by everyone else. But it looks like it's front what is that, front, maybe front left end plate damage, possibly there for the Williams driver, out of 2nd position. That's promoted Fountain up into 2nd. But we've still got this battle going on now between Charlie and Sam. There's no love lost between these two, and they're going to go side by side and not give each other any quarter. So as we've now got a yellow in sector 3, and Rasty gets past Simon, and Rasty dropping down behind Luke, so there may have been slight contact between the two. And we saw those three having a fantastic battle just a few laps ago, and we will take a breather for a little bit of oxygen in a second. But at the moment, 7 laps in, I've already lost count of the amount of penalties, the amount of overtakes we've had.
I think you mentioned penalties just because of Rasty's penalty just turned up there, but I think this is a pure guess because I didn't see it, but I think whatever happened with Harry involved White Fountain, because if you look now, White Fountain is 3.2 seconds behind John Palainen, and Harry was 2.1, wasn't it? So something happened at turn 1 between White Fountain and him. I'm positive, because that jump there, it seems a bit strange to jump up over a second, the gap from 1st to 2nd. So for me, I don't like to put the jinx in him, but I think Charlie is sitting very pretty here for a podium or potential win here, because Charlie, to me, looks like he's on the best tyre right now. Those hard tyres are much suited to him. He looks so much faster than the guys on those hard tyres at the minute, and with what, about 8 seconds to the lead on the hard tyres, he's going to go much longer than what John Palainen is. Even though it's lap 8 now, John Palainen's still going, he's going to go much longer into this race. So you imagine Charlie will be right up there to fight John Palainen towards the end of the race, especially if John Palainen is to go on that 2-stop strategy, or is he trying to stretch them out now and try and jump onto the hard tyres for a 1-stop strategy?
Sensational battle going on for the final point of the race in 10th position at the moment between Simon, Luke and Rasty. the Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull, and that is something we see quite often. But you can see here we're sitting on board of Rasti, sitting right behind the Dane of Luke, and Rasti going out wide. They just had a snap of oversteer and unfortunately just got offline, but that's going to drop him down a few seconds. That's going to promote Luke to be able to challenge up against Simon unaided as Jumperlinen does come into the pit lane on lap 9, fits the hard tyres. So is this a run to the end for Jumperlinen? He's going to feed out just ahead of this group, which is unless of course these guys who are on the on warm tyres but they've still got life in them can get past him. It looks like he's fed himself out quite nicely into some clean air.
Speed Queen, she has now jumped back ahead of Sam. She's up to 4th place now in her Toro Rosso. She's looking pretty good as well, only 1.3 seconds behind Charlie, but just to point out on that jump line, he could not have been fed out into a better place. He's got some clean air ahead of him, nobody really challenging behind. Simon, yes, is under a second, but not close enough to challenge Jumperline. Jumperline now, on those hard tyres, you'd imagine he'd be going to the end, but it's going to be a big ask of him, I'd say, to make those hard tyres last. But if he's confident in it, then good luck to him. But I'd imagine the likes of Charlie, who's sitting there at the moment in 3rd place, is going to be rubbing his hands slightly, knowing that John Purline towards the end of the race is going to be on well-worn hard tyres, and he's going to be on fairly new medium tyres. So lots to be done later on in the races. That Harry is the latest to pick up a time penalty there for multiple warnings.
Yeah, Harry's race not having the greatest last 3 laps after running in 2nd position. A spin at turn 1 and now pick up a penalty. He's dropped down to 8th position. He's going to be coming under threat from Jumperlinen, who's going to be on fresh rubber, 3.5 seconds behind him at the moment. We're still on board here with Sam as he's challenging with Speed Queen. Speed Queen holding up Sam, and these two on the same tyres, of course, 9-lap-old mediums. So this is all on driver ability, driver skill. Can she keep him behind? We know that he's a ferocious overtaker, and he likes to put his car into positions that make you feel uncomfortable, but he does it very, very well. And Sam, he's going to run in right in the gearbox of that Toro Rosso as we get in towards Mobile 1, up towards the Sachs corner. And Sam just about starting to drag the likes of Burmeister and Adri along with him. So Speed Queen starting to be a little bit of a bottleneck in this towards the end of this stint. We've got about 4 or 5 laps left on these mediums, I imagine, before they start to think about a swap to those hard tyres.
One guy I'd like to point out is doing very well, very nicely indeed, is Burmeister in 6th place in his Ferraris, keeping on the back of Sam, like you pointed out. And if he keeps going well tonight and keeps it clean, I can imagine he's going to end up scoring some good points tonight. He's usually pretty handy in a race. He's had some difficulties now and then in previous times as Sam makes a move down the inside of Speed Queen, but Speed Queen is having none of it. Once again, they bang wheels, this time into turn 6. They're going side by side now, heading down to the Mercedes grandstand. None of them giving up whatsoever there. Sam just about hangs on to it there and keeps hold of 4th place, but like I said earlier, this battle is starting to get a bit personal. They are really pushing each other fairly, I have to say, at the moment, fairly battling, but yeah, it's a superb battle, and Burmeister just watching it at a safe distance, isn't he, at the moment, just making sure if any of them make a mistake or run each other out, he's there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, the battle looks like it's been won by Sam, who had a very deep switch back into the hairpin and managed to catch out Speed Queen after she'd made that defensive move. He got down the inside, and now she's going to have to become she's now the hunter again. So Sam is going to be stuck in this, and we were talking about it at the start of the session, that you can get really caught within this sort of DRS train here. So it's all about maintaining your pace. You can see she's had a really good exit out of turn 4 there, so she's going to be well within DRS. This time it's the Toro Rosso's turn to send it down the inside. Sam's not really going to have anything to say about it, and Burmeister even having a think about it for position, having to bail out of the throttle at the last moment there. Sam pulling right into in tight to the apex to try and cover off the Ferrari that was just putting his nose there just to see just dip his toe in the water and see if the gap was there to make the move. But it looks like Sam just cut him off, thinking, I've already lost one position, I don't really want to lose a second. 12 laps of 34, Sab. What's been the best thing so far? Because I don't think I've stopped talking.
I just couldn't possibly say, to be honest. I'm watching the battle for 10th place. Rusty and Simon having a good battle there. Some ball wheel banging down at turn 6. Rusty nearly got a move done on Simon into the Mercedes section, but unfortunately he ran deeper and allowed Simon back through. So Rusty trying his hardest at the moment to claim that position off Simon, as we see Eliar, Luke and Sam into the pit lane now. Sam on those hard tyres as Psycho picks up the 10-second penalty. It's been a bad race for him tonight, as he's just spun out at the final corner now. So more troubles for the racing point there. So be very interested to see now. Sam, he's come out right behind Harry. You'd imagine he's going to have DRS now. If Sam can get this done, move quite quickly and get past Harry, imagine Sam's going to be very quick on those hard tyres and might be able to try and undercut if he possibly can. But Harry's not going to make it easy for him, is he?
No, he's not at all, and we know that Harry likes to he's an incredibly hard racer. He's a race winner here at Invictus, multi-time race winner, so he's definitely going to make it as hard as possible. I was just wondering, Jumperline, if he's a fan of the composer John Williams. And I imagine in his earphones he hasn't got his race engineer. He's probably got the theme tune to Jaws playing at the moment, because he's creeping on the guys ahead of him. He's dispatched Agilokdok in that last lap, and he's now chasing down after Burmeister and Speed Queen as Charlie picks up 3 seconds, and that's going to possibly hinder him later in the race. And this racing point is getting closer and closer now. 1.4 seconds between himself and Burmeister. Burmeister equally well within shooting distance of, as Rasty picks up 3 seconds, well within shooting distance of Speed Queen. So can the Ferrari move up another position? Here he comes, DRS wide open. He's going to have to go to the outside. Speed Queen has already covered off the inside line. He's going to be a long way around. If he is going to get it done, Speed Queen, she's going to try and run him out wide, and Burmeister, and being quite polite there and giving her the space on the exit, and she gets the power down earlier than him. Burmeister having to hold on to 5th position at the moment, but every single corner these two fight with each other, that Pink Panther will be getting closer and closer, and Jumper Lydon will be hoping to clear these cars as soon as possible, because he knows that he's either going to have to run these hards right to the end of the race, or he's going to make a real a splash and dash at the end, and hope that the pit crew put those tyres on in perhaps 1.2 seconds or something to get him back out in time. But into the pits comes White Fountain and Speed Queen. So they Sam tried to go for that undercut a lap ago. Will he be able to move himself up through this field? But it looks like he got caught behind Harry as well, so it's possibly going to hold him up a little bit. But Speed Queen and Fountain, they're now out of the pit box, and White Fountain back out in 6th position. Speed Queen down to 9th at the moment, so 10th as Harry and Sam get past her, so she's going to have to make some overtakes in the second half of this race. And we've got now getting down the inside of Burmeister in towards the hairpin, locks up that front right, just about manages to get it slowed down, but Jumperliner back up into 3rd position on track.
That did him a favour, didn't it, with Speed Queen coming in when she did. It did Jumperliner the world of good, knowing that he's only got to get one move done, and how close he was to Burmeister, he got it done quite easily. Whereas if Speed Queen had stayed out and was battling hard with Burmeister, it'd have been much more difficult for Jumperliner to get past 2 cars. So all at the moment is going right for Jumperliner, and he's got clear air now, 5.7 seconds to FPL Charlie, as we see the race leader Foxy Red. He's now in, he's had enough of those medium tyres, he's done 15 laps on them. He'll be coming in for his one and only pit stop onto the hard tyre. It'll be interesting to see where he gets fed out. So this now promotes Jump line and back up to second place. Jump line and 5.6 seconds behind FPL Charlie. So I was gutted to see him pick up that 3-second time penalty, FPL Charlie, because I think that could eventually cost him a few places tonight. But at the moment, he's still going nicely on those hard times. 15 laps so far on them. 5.5 seconds now, jump line. He's slowly starting to reel in that Mercedes. So Charlie, you'd imagine he'll not want to stay on those hard tires too long, but he knows he's got a lap limit to get to, and all he'll be doing at the moment, I'd imagine, he's looking at that time slowly dwindling as that Racing Point starts to reel him in and reel in his next victim of the night.
Harry seems to have spent the weekend watching the World Rallycross Championship as he's running over curbs and taking as much liberty with the track layout as possible, kicking up dirt almost every single corner. And it's more Colin McRae at the moment than it is a Williams driver. So he's just about managing to hold Sam behind. Sam 0.6 of a second behind the Williams coming in through Mobil 1. Now you can say, out onto the grass. As I was saying, he's been taking corners very wide, right out onto the grass, onto the gravel. That's going to really dirty up those tyres over the next half a lap or so. Into the pit box comes Burmeister and Adrelokdok, and they will be coming out as Foxy Red comes around the first corner in 4th position now. So he's got White Fountain, Jobberline and Charlie, and this is the stint of the part of the race, that end stint really for Charlie, that he's really got to pump in some good laps before he comes in and makes that stop. And we can imagine he's probably going to come in for mediums in a few laps time, and he's really got to hope that he can just keep the pace up, because I'm sure he can see behind that time between himself and jump line and will be coming down, and he knows that if he's to go on the podium, if he is to possibly even win this race, he's going to have to really do something special in the second half of this race. But equally, he's got to hold up jump line, and he can't let him get past down the DRS straight at the first attempts. He's really got to hold up the Finn.
He has, yeah, I totally agree. It's real pressure moments now for Charlie to get these laps done. I just wanted to point out Burmeister is also pitted now. He's come out behind Speed Queen once again, but just ahead of Warslander. Warslander on 13 lap old medium tyres, so you'd imagine he'll have to come in again at some point. You can't imagine he will go to the end on those tyres. Warslander currently sat in 10th place. It's been a shame really to see him down there, because we know how quick he can be, and unfortunately it's just not been right, not for him but the McLaren team as well. As we saw Meg Luppy exit earlier in the race, as we see Zyman now, he started on the hard tyres and he's coming on 17 laps for fresh mediums. So is it around the time now to come in? Will we see FPL Charlie coming in at the end of this lap, or do you think he's going to try and stretch it out for as long as possible?
I think he's only lost 0.3 of a second to jump line in that last lap, so he's still obviously got a little bit of pace. He's not been reeled in at a rate of knots, and as we see Harry still cruising down now. Harry's got a couple of extra laps on those tyres. It's not slowing up the pace at all, and he peels the inside, gets a little bit of clean air into the radio ducts and onto the tyres, and now back into the slipstream of that Haas, just trying to stay with him, shadow him through every corner. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to this race. And there he goes into the pit lane, 18 laps of 34, and Charlie does decide that this is the time to come in and make that stop onto the medium rubber. Now, this is the big call, isn't it, Sab? Where does he feed back out? Because it needs to be back in clean air.
Yeah, definitely. I'm staying on board with him now as Foxy Red flies past him. I would imagine he's going to feed out just nicely ahead of Sam. Yes, he does. Sam's just coming round the first corner now. So Charlie, that has worked out nicely for him. Sam is not too close to him, so Charlie now has got some space now to get some laps pumped in and go and chase after Foxy Red in that Alfa Romeo. Charlie around 4 seconds behind Foxy Red at the moment, but obviously on completely different tyres, brand new mediums now, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Charlie pumping the fastest lap within the next lap or two and really start to pull his way back into them podium places.
Harry getting past Sam into the hairpin. And nice move, DRS assisted. Now it's Speed Queen's turn if she's going to try and get past Sam, or equally, Sam, I imagine, is going to try and stay with Harry and replicate that move once again on the next lap no real opportunities to send it down the inside unless you're very brave, maybe into the likes of the Sud corner or the Sachs corner, sorry. And it's going to be probably down through turn 4 and up towards turn 5 and turn 6 that you can get the move done. So Sam's going to have to stay within that 1 second window. But of course, Speed Queen, she's much quicker on the exit of this final corner than Sam is, and she's got herself within 0.4 of a second. DRS towards turn 1. You want to close it relatively early, because if you keep it open too long, it can really unbalance the car going into turn 1. And these guys, of course, running with no assists on, will have to be holding on to their car like it's like on the edge of a slipstream, and you're really hanging on to something that's going way wider than you were hoping so. And here comes Speed Queen, DRS assisted, 7th position currently. Can she move up into 8th position? Not quite close enough because of Sam's DRS assistance with Harry ahead, so she's just having to sit behind Sam. And this is frustrating for a driver, isn't it, Sab? Because when you know that you've got the pace to overtake someone, but they just have that DRS, whether they're maybe just under a second behind someone in front, and it's just frustrating to follow someone knowing that you could probably overtake them. You just need them to fall out of that DRS of the guy in front.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. You just find yourself wondering if it's possible to get the move done. I'd have to say this is probably the battle of the race so far between Sam and Speed Queen. We've seen him battling all race long, pretty much banging wheels and swapping places. As there you go, as I predicted, FPL Charlie does give us the fastest lap with a 1 minute 14 second there, and he's flying up to the back of the Alfa Romeo now. It was over 4 seconds. It's now 2 seconds flat, so it won't be long now until Charlie gets DRS on that Alfa Romeo, and you'd imagine it would be quite easy work on the Alfa Romeo as Foxy Red is. Oh, as Warrislander picks up the fastest lap now with a 1:14.1 there. As we've got a yellow flag in sector 1 as Rasty has lost it down at turn 1 there, so unfortunately for him that's dropped into last place. But yeah, Charlie now 1.6 seconds to Foxy Red. If you can get the move done and get caught up quickly, he's then got 5.8 seconds to White Fountain. So lots of work still to be done here for Charlie. You've basically, I would imagine now, he's going to be trying to pump in quali laps from now to the end and try and reel in these guys ahead, but remembering as well that he's got that 3 second time penalty hanging over his head.
13 laps left to do it, and the only reason that he's going to have that just glimmer of hope is that he knows that Jumperlinen had to stop a lot earlier, so he will start struggling with those tyres later in the race. But he's got to get past 2 very quick drivers first in Foxy Red 2000 and White Fountain. And in fact, Fountain might even be thinking this is an opportunity for a race win for himself here, as we're still on board with this battle between Speed Queen, Sammy Pepito and Harry. In fact, Sam much closer to Harry this time around. Can he get himself past the Williams once again as we go into the DRS straight, heading round through turn 4 into the turn 5, parallels off to the right hand side there. Layout that the DTM used, and down was the hairpin. Sam just about managing to get a car slowed down. The brake disc glowing orange as he foot was probably flat to the floor trying to slow it down to not collect the rear end of the Williams, which would have been disastrous at this stage of the race for Sammy Pepito. But Sam, 6th position at the moment, still trapped behind the Williams. Harry making a good job of keeping his car ahead. 2 laps old of those on those tyres. He's had a couple of trips across the gravel and across the grass, and he's just about holding off Sam.
He is, yeah, and just further back, LER Luke and Warrislander are trading places right now. McLaren versus Ferrari, we've not heard that in a long time in Formula 1, but Warrislander on those brand new medium tyres eventually gets the move done, and you would imagine 4.2 seconds now behind Simon. Can he reel that Red Bull in and pick up the last points place position? It won't be good for Warrislander. I know he'd be frustrated in knowing that 10th place isn't good enough, but it'd be good to get himself on there after a struggle this race so far. So yeah, Warrislander looking very racy down there in 11th. It's just a shame it is down in 11th place, as FPL Charlie is now, like I said a couple of laps ago, is hot on the tail of Foxy Red right now. He's pretty much pushing the Alfa Romeo into the stadium section. I can't imagine Charlie will be getting a move done in the stadium section. You may just wait and bide his time and get the move done. Later on, Foxy Red dips a tyre into the gravel there. Wow, did well to keep that hold of that, but fortunately for Foxy Red, he's going to be pretty much a sitting duck within the next few corners.
Yeah, Charlie unable to get it done with DRS down towards the hairpin. Foxy just about held off, but yeah, as you say, those two were side by side as they got towards turn 7, and Charlie having to shift down the gear. I believe Foxy Red might have been pointing in the wrong direction, but Charlie's going to have another go this lap around, but he knows that he needs to get it done this lap if he is to start closing up to the likes of Fountain, who's starting to fall, Foxy Red is starting to fall back from Fountain somewhat, so Charlie needs to get the move done here. Foxy goes to the inside line to cover off the inside once again. Charlie's going to have to go to the outside line. Foxy cuts back, tries to go once again to the outside. These two trading positions, but it is Charlie on these new tyres that's got the advantage, got the new tyres. Foxy's going to try and come back into turn 7, runs off onto the grass as Rasty picks up 3 seconds, still side by side now. He's trying to force his way through. Charlie's going to need to get his elbows out if he is to maintain this position on those new tyres, and he does. The Alfa Romeo having to fall off of the podium there. It looks like Charlie's tyres just about as Charlie kicks the rear end of that Mercedes out on the exit, the entry to the stadium section. My commentary has been dreadful this evening, yeah, as these two fighting each other, and we get into the final stages of the lap 24 for them, and now as it is jumper line, it's on 25 of 34. Charlie up into 3rd position. It's a big ask for him to close down on Fountain as the Foxy picks up 3 seconds there running wide at turn 1.
Yeah, it is a big ask, isn't it? I was just about to say Foxy didn't believe he had any time penalties until just now. So if Foxy could have kept on to the back of that Mercedes, then the time penalty would have come back at him and he'd have still picked up that 3rd place. But now you'd imagine it's going to be tough for Foxy to get that 3rd place back as long as Charlie doesn't pick up any more time penalties. At the moment, Foxy is staying there or thereabouts. He's still half a second behind that Mercedes, even though Charlie is on those fresher, faster tyres. So Foxy not doing too badly at the moment on those hard tyres, but it's going to be tough now for him to claim that 3rd place now. But like you say, Charlie is about 10 seconds off a jumper line, and it's a big ask with 9 laps to go to not only catch jumper line, but catch him and get the overtake done as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And with that 3-second penalty, it's looking a very tall order for the no assist champion of last season. We've got this fantastic battle going on between 5th and 8th position at the moment between Harry, Sam, Speed Queen and Burmeister. Burmeister just about hanging on to the back of these three, and of course these three all race winners here at Invictus, and Speed Queen 3-time champion, Sam multi-time winner, Harry in fact Sam getting wide there on the exit turn 1, and Speed Queen, she's going to think about it into turn 2, thinks better of it, knowing that it's better off to get DRS, but then equally looks like Sam's going to get DRS on Harry ahead, and he does. That flap on the rear wing does open, so it means that she's going to have to sit behind him. Once again, Sam getting much closer to the rear end of Harry. Harry trying to swap positions, forces Sam to the outside line. Sam's going to have to there's contact between the two. Is that going to give Speed Queen the option of going up the inside? It does, and this means Burmeister can attack the two of them as well. Sam trying to get back on track. Harry didn't really leave him the space, and this time Sam is having to go from fighting for 5th position, now fighting 7th. He's gone off, he's lost control of the car, he's into the gravel on the exit, and he's going to almost lose the car on the re-entry. So Sam, a scruffy sector and a half for himself there, coming into contact with Harry not once but twice, and unfortunately for him, that's now dropped him down to 9th position. Yeah, and he's got big damage, front left damage to his front wing, so he's definitely going to have to come in. That was a shame, wasn't it? Because we had a great 4-way battle there for 5th place, and unfortunately one person just had to, in the end,
fall for an incident. Unfortunately for Sam, it was him, and that will no doubt demote him out of the points now as he comes in. You'd imagine he comes in on a set of softs, but he's going on to a set of mediums, which is surprising there. So imagine him to potentially pick up a fastest lap, but that should see him now, unfortunately, out of the points and 0 points for this weekend, as we see Speed Queen and Harry swapping places once again. It's been a superb battle, and I think it's been, for me, I've been watching Speed Queen the most of that because that's where all the actions happen.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely she runs Harry out wide there, and Harry going to the inside and proving that it's not just the hairpin you can overtake, and he gets the move done into turn 10. Gets ahead. There you go. Nicely done for Harry. Back up into 5th position where he was a few laps ago before the contact with Sam. But it does mean that Burmeister has cruised right up to the back of these two, and this battle continues. We're on lap 28 of 34. It's the closest fight we've got on track. We've got Harry with just about 10 or just over 10 seconds behind Foxy Red in 4th position. Foxy having dropped 2.5 seconds off of Charlie. Charlie not making the inroads he was hoping on making on Fountain ahead. Fountain 3 seconds behind Jumpalainen, who on that aggressive, soft and hard strategy is making it work at the moment. He's done 19 laps on those hards. It doesn't look like it's affecting him one iota, and now we've got Harry. He's going to have 2 cars behind him very, very quickly coming up behind him, and Burmeister, Speed Queen, here they come. Speed Queen's going to go to the outside. Burmeister's going to go to the outside. Can any of them get around him? Speed Queen, she's going to try and go around the outside, and she gets it done around the outside of the hairpin. Great move there from the Toro Rosso.
It was. She could have a highlight reel all to herself tonight with the battles and overtakes and everything else what's happened so far. Burmeister, he's. I think, what would you say? I think he's just been a bit too polite tonight, Burmeister. There's been opportunities for him to send one down the inside and maybe playing it a little too safe there. He could have potentially been sat there. He could still. There's still plenty of laps left to get 5th place, but I think in previous laps he's just been a bit too polite on the overtakes and the moves, and still sat in 7th place. He's still sitting nicely for him, but I think with a bit more aggression we might have seen Burmeister further ahead tonight.
Yeah, he just about holds on to on the exit turn 1 there. Just got slightly sideways, but yeah, this has got all the hallmarks of someone just waiting to pick their points with the cars ahead, as we saw with Sam and Harry just a few laps ago, coming into contact and hoping to make up for or pick up the pieces. And here comes Harry on Speed Queen down the outside. She's covered off the inside, and as she sets it down the inside, which is very wide, so that's going to get the opportunity. That's going to leave the door open there, and but Harry does get the position back up into 5th position. Burmeister still sitting watching these 2 cars in front, and in fact he's going to peel to the outside and try and go around the outside of Speed Queen through Mercedes. This would be another spectacular move. Not quite. She shuts the door on him, but Burmeister, he's probably hopefully listening into us and just thinking, okay, maybe I do need to turn the wick up a little bit here and start putting my car around a little bit. And he did just have a sniff up the outside of Speed Queen, but she's a very experienced driver, one of the most experienced here, and she knows where to put the car to stop any overtake.
Oh, definitely. She's probably one of the most experienced people in this league. It's good to see. I have to say, it's really good to see. This is Speed Queen, as we know, has got a yellow flag in sectors 2 and 3, and Sam in the Haas has gone off again, down in 13th place. So it's been a race to forget for him, unfortunately. But yeah, as I was saying with Speed Queen, it was a tough old season for her last season, and not the season we know she's great at. And it's good to see her battling again like this, but now she's under big pressure now from Burmeister. She's not going to be able to get the move done on Harry, but Burmeister, because Speed Queen has got that DRS, like we mentioned earlier, Speed Queen was able to defend quite comfortably in the end. But yeah, it is really good to see her fighting like this. Obviously for her sake, she will want to be fighting for podiums and wins. She'll not be pleased that she's fighting for 5th place, but it's much better to see her a lot more competitive so far this season.
Simon feels like he's been involved in a battle for the last 31 laps with several other drivers. It's like he's been glued to someone else. He just doesn't like racing around. As I say that, there's a curse of the commentators as he spins out. And I was just saying, he spent the entire race battling with someone, and unfortunately there, it just looks like he lit the rear tyres up on the exit of turn 10, turned the Red Bull around, but unfortunately for him, that's going to put him back in, well, it's got him in 10th position where he was after fighting with Warris. Warris and him having a fantastic side-by-side battle. We've got a yellow now that's just been cleared to green. I believe that's probably the Red Bull, and he's done 12 laps on those mediums, so there's still life in them yet, but yeah, that's not going to help at all. But one thing I was going to highlight, we've got 3 laps left to go in the race. That gap between Jumper Lion and White Fountain was 3.5 seconds. It's now just over 2.5. He's done, and well, you can see there 22 laps on the hards for Jumper Lion and only 16 for Fountain. Is this the opportunity for Fountain over the next few laps? Is this where he just needs to really turn up the battery, turn up the fuel mix, and really push and try and claw back that 2.5 seconds on Jumper Line in the lead?
You would like to think if anybody could do it, White Fountain can do it. We've seen him do things like this in the past. I think it might be a bit too much now for him. One that I am surprised about is FPL Charlie really hasn't made any gains on White Fountain. It's been steadily sat at 6 seconds for a good few laps now, and even though he's on those fresher medium tyres, he just hasn't reeled in White Fountain, as Harry and Burmeister both pick up 3-second time penalties, assumingly at turn 1 there. So this could, in theory, cost Harry 5th place, because I don't believe Speed Queen has any penalties right now. And Speed Queen, she's 1.2 seconds off Harry, so she won't have DRS here, and Burmeister will. Can Burmeister eventually get this move done, what he's been trying to preview us with for a few laps now, but Speed Queen keeps it down the inside, and it's an easy defence there. Burmeister keeping close to the back of that Toro Rosso. But yeah, I think based on what we've got left now, I think Speed Queen, if she can stay under that 3 seconds, she will steal 5th place off of Harry.
Yeah, and well, Burmeister looked like he took the Joker lap there if he was driving in Rallycross, and just decided not to take turn 1, went straight across the runoff area, and that's why he was slapped with that 3-second penalty. Equally, Harry, that's going to possibly drop him back into 6th position. So Speed Queen, we know that she doesn't often pick up track penalties, so if as long as I'll keep my lips firmly sealed over the next 2 laps or so, because obviously I've just cursed Simon, I don't want to curse Speed Queen, and but yeah, it's going to be, looks like Speed Queen may be moving up, and equally Charlie, he's now dipped back under 3 seconds between himself and Foxy Red, and that 3-second penalty that he got earlier in this race, that could possibly demote him off of the podium.
No, because I think Foxy Red has also got a penalty, so unfortunately, Foxy's going to have to really reel Charlie in, unless Charlie does pick up another 3-second time penalty, which Foxy will be hoping for. But yeah, I believe Foxy also has a 3-second time penalty. So while at the moment he's certainly reeling in that Mercedes now, 2.5 seconds, I'm just riding on board with Foxy, and he can firmly see that Mercedes ahead of him in the stadium section. It's now 1.9 seconds, so coming into the final lap now, can Foxy just surprise Charlie and get something done on his last lap? Because it feels like to me Charlie has lost all his tyres, because it's dropped to 8 seconds from White Fountain now, and it looks like he's lost every bit of grip possible in those medium tyres, as Foxy Red is trying desperately to catch up with him.
We've got a yellow flattener in Sector 3, and that's looks like Burmeister has dropped down as well. So Burmeister, after having that great battle between himself, Harry, and Speed Queen, has had an issue on the penultimate, well, now on the final lap, as Luke retires from the session down in 12th position. With just a matter of meters left to go before the end of the race, but unfortunately for him, he was just outside of the points. But it is going to be once again with just a few corners left to go, and it's going to be just excruciatingly out of reach for White Fountain, who is reeling in Jumper Linen, but it's not going to be enough, and the Finn is going to come around the final 2 corners. He's into the Sud curve now, and he is going to make it 2 out of 2 here in the IRL F1 League. The Racing Point crosses the line and takes the victory ahead of White Fountain in second position. FPL Charlie is going to come across the line to come home in third. Does he maintain it? As you said, that's the reason why you're here, to tell me that tell me that I've missed things, and he does. So Charlie up onto the podium. Foxy is in fourth position. Harry is going to come across the line in fifth position. Now, does he drop back behind Speed Queen as we thought he might do? Speed Queen comes across the line as she does jump ahead of him, and Adjulokdok in seventh position. Burmeister, unfortunate for him, he's going to come home eighth after that late issue, and in fact drops him down behind Warris, who after that first lap spin recovers back to a points paying position. And the final person in the points will be Zyman, who after that late spin means that he's just about going to hold on to a points, because I believe Rusty did pick up it may even be 15 seconds of penalty, so we'll have to double check with the Italian there. But Jumperline, and there aren't enough superlatives you can say about him in these first two races. He's gone for the ultra aggressive strategies tonight, and he's absolutely banged it.
He has thoroughly deserved. That's 2 wins in a row now. You've got to say he's the favourite and the man to beat right now. We were all thinking he was going to go that 2-stop strategy tonight and made the the aggressive 1-stop work nicely. In the end, White Fountain just couldn't catch up. Maybe 2 or 3 more laps he might have, but unfortunately for White Fountain, couldn't quite catch up with first place. But he'll be delighted to pick up second place tonight, and Charlie equally be delighted to get on the podium after starting down in 10th place.
Yeah, but it is the race win for Jumperline and in White Fountain in second. So the top 2 maintain position, but it's FPL Charlie moving up from 10th to 3rd position on the track, ahead of Foxy Red. Speed Queen in 5th position, with Harry down from 3rd to 6th, so he'll be disappointed with his race tonight. Andrew Lockdock from 5th goes down to 7th, with Warrislander from 14th up to 8th. Burmeister is in 9th position, with Zyman in 10th. Rasty is in 11th and picks up 15 seconds of penalties, with Luke, Sam, Psycho, Infinity and Meg all non-finishers this evening. And we'll bring the top 3 into the commentary box in a second. And Sab, I'm sure you'd like to give these guys a couple of questions and find out how their race has gone, and we'll find out from Jumperline and just how he managed to pull off that strategy. It's, just whilst we do, and whilst we're waiting for those guys to head in, I do apologise, guys. I have been awful this evening. I will be much better for next week, but yeah, I will tell you guys what's going on here at Invictus for the rest of the week. Tuesday night is the Realistic Performance League, and that is covered by Tim and Malc, and of course they're here for their second round race in the Hockenheim Ring in just 24 hours time. And on Wednesday it is equal performance as well. It is IRL F2 and F3, 2 races on Wednesday. You've got F2 covered by Energy Dan and the Warrislander, and F3 covered by Tim and Malc once again. And of course on Thursday you've got the Invictus F1 podcast with Sav and I talking all things F1. So plenty of things here at Invictus to be paying attention to over the next few days or so. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you press that subscribe button, ding the bell to be notified when we go live. And equally, if you're enjoying what Sab and I are bringing you, hopefully with better commentary next week, make sure you press that like button. It helps us with that YouTube algorithm, with getting recommended through to yourself and other drivers. But the top 3 have joined us in the podium, and congratulations to you guys. Fantastic race. And Sab, I will let you kick off the questions for our race finishers.
So we'll start off with tonight's race winner, Jumperline, and congratulations, that's now 2 race wins in a row. Great, perfect start to the season for yourself. We've seen you start on those, qualify on those soft tyres. We all thought it wasn't going to be possible to get the 1-stop done, but you managed it. How was the race for you tonight?
It was pretty good. I knew the soft to hards could work, so just the first 2 laps that are pretty important. Try to get a gap so you can get some breathing space and try to be smooth and avoid penalties and look after the tires pretty much. But yeah, it worked out well for me because I got that gap and could pit from the lead. So
Yeah, it's like I say, it's been a perfect start for you this season. Many will probably tip you now as the favourite for this league. How do you think the season's gone for yourself? Do you think it's perfect, or is there any way you believe you can improve as well?
No, I think the start's been as good as it could have been. Qualifying's gone really well, and lap times have been good, and yeah, races have gone well as well. So there's nothing like that I feel has gone wrong so far.
Well, congratulations! It was a superb drive from yourself tonight, and yeah, everybody will be definitely watching you next week to see what you can do. I want to move over to second place now. White Fountain, you in second place. It must have seemed like a bit of a lonely race in the end. You were slowly catching up with Jumperline, and towards the end, it ended up as you crossed line 1.4 seconds behind him. Did you believe at all you could reel him in at the end, or was he just too far out of reach?
Well, I was convinced if he started on the softs, he would do a two-stop. So, like the first 20 laps, I just did my own race, and I thought he's going to do a second stop, so I would be first. But when there were 7 laps left, I knew he was going to try to get the hearts to the end, and I was hoping his hearts would die at the end, and I would come closer. But maybe I needed to push a bit harder in the beginning of the race. But I'm happy with second place because Jump Lion is really quick. We've seen that in the previous races, so I'm happy with second.
Yeah, congratulations. And on to third place. Charlie, you started off in 10th place. You couldn't get a lap done on those mediums. You're telling me you invalidated. Are you happy that you eventually finished on third? Was that the best you could have done tonight?
I think, yeah, because of the pace of the two guys in front of me, that's probably the best I could have done today. I would manage to clear quite a few cars in the beginning. Some sort of fell off the road and got past some of the others. And yeah, once I got past Foxy in the end, I just sort of hit a wall. I couldn't really make gains on the two in front, so it's the best I could have got.
Well, it's back to the podium for you, so I'm sure you'll be delighted with that. Gareth? Do you have any questions for the guys before we wrap up tonight?
No, you've covered everything, Sab. It was a fantastic race, top three. Really, really magnificent strategy from Jumperline and from the soft to the hard. I was really impressed with that, and I think there might be a few drivers on Tuesday and Wednesday who might be looking at copying what you can do, probably to little success. So yeah, really, really well done for you guys, and equally, it's good to see the likes of Fountain and Charlie back on the podium. But yeah, it's been a great race. Can't wait for round three.
No, definitely not. Sorry, I thought you was going to carry on there. No, definitely not. It was a superb, like I say, superb race tonight. I can't possibly predict what top three we're going to get next week. Like I say, Jump Line is definitely one to keep an eye on for the race win. But we should imagine Boy Better Know will be back with us next week. Sam, who unfortunately had a few issues towards the end of the race. You'd imagine he'll be qualifying and racing further ahead as well. So at the moment, this season, apart from the first place, this season is giving us a good mixture of battles, not only at the front for the top three, but in the middle of the pack, like we've seen with Speed Queen and Burmeister and Harry, but also down in 9th, 10th and 11th place as well. So this season so far is doing exactly what I thought it'd be and give us great races throughout the whole of the grid, not just at the very front.
No, absolutely, and it was a really fun race to watch back. These guys really entertained from first position all the way through the field. So yeah, some fantastic racing tonight. Cannot wait for round three off to Silverstone next week. So yeah, hasn't been on the calendar for the last season. So looking forward to having it back on there. I'm sure there'll be a lot of drivers eyeing up that one to take home for their trophy cabinet. But yeah, I mean that's us done for this evening, guys. And thanks for everyone for joining us. And hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll be back, hopefully better next Monday for the third round of the season for the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and Sab and I will be back in the commentary box for that. And of course, if you want to catch more of us, you can come here, listen to the live recording of the F1 podcast on Thursday night. And equally, we've got Tuesday and Wednesday. You've got 3 more leagues this week. You've got the Realistic Performance on Tuesday. You've got the Equal Performance IRL F2 and F3 on Wednesday. So plenty more racing here in Invictus throughout the rest of the week. Apart from that, we will see you next Monday for round 3 of the IRL F1 League. And have a great week, guys. And we will see you very soon.